Hello, my name is Ethan, and welcome back to another episode of Path of Exile Scourge League 3.16. In this episode, I'm going to be going over why I dropped Zebachwa, how I'm surviving elemental damage and chaos damage without Zebachwa, what I've done instead of it, how I got more damage, what you should do if you should do it also, what these flasks are and how they work with Mageblood, and if you should be doing something like this as well. All of this is in today's video, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Stay tuned. Alright, I'd like to explain why we used Zebachwa in the build, and why I'm not using Zebachwa now, so that for today's stream people can see this and are not confused. So basically, Zebachwa, you can put it in the skill tree right here in this jewel socket, or any jewel socket next to a keystone, and then it would convert the keystone if it was a glorious vanity timeless jewel in the name of Zebachwa. The numbers only matter for the small passives and the notables, but we want the keystone, which is from the Zebachwa. So you put the Zebachwa in, you get the thingy, and we raise our max chaos, and we make half of our elemental damage go to against our chaos. This was really good because it's like 10% elemental damage reduction, and then if we scale it up to 90% chaos res, we go up to 30% elemental damage reduction, basically, and that's what we were doing. It was really strong. It's like 3 wise oaks of damage reduction for elemental, and we have the extra chaos, so then we're basically chaos immune too. But when I switched over to this belt, I had lower life, and I noticed that I could go to 60,000 armor with the Mageblood. Basically, the main reason for Zebachwa is elemental and chaos protection, right? Then I asked myself if the elemental was efficient, comparing against the Mageblood, because the Mageblood can give me anything of like armor, evasion, elemental mitigation, tons of options, right? So pretty much I was like, what if, well, I was going to 60,000 armor with the Flask, and I was like, what if I don't do that? Because determination is too good. I have to run the determination. I've already thought about dropping that. You can't drop it. So basically, with 60,000 armor, I was basically immune to physical compared to the elemental and the chaos. And my chaos was at 89, and my elemental was 75. So the elemental only has a protection of 30% damage reduction compared to the chaos getting 60% damage reduction. So my elemental was the weakest, and then I was like, well, what can I do with the Mageblood to upgrade my elemental? So I ran Ruby, Flask, Topaz, and Sapphire with the Zebachwa. I had 89 chaos, about all this, so we were literally as tanky as possible. This is like 40% less of each element and 30% damage reduction from the Zebachwa. But it won't be exactly 40% because we converted half of the elemental to chaos. So I tested both of them, and I ran up against Uber at Ziri, and I tanked the Flame Blast. Then I went up against Shaper Balls, and I tanked the Shaper Balls. You know the Shaper phase with the purple balls? I was tanking those, and I was like, holy shit, we're too tanky. So then I thought, well, what if I take out the Zebachwa? Can I still tank the Ubrid Ziri's Flame Blast? And I was able to. So just with these flasks with the Mageblood, that was enough. So the main reason I was running the Zebachwa was the elemental mitigation. That was the main reason. It's kind of like going max elemental res, but through the chaos res at half conversion, which is really nice. And I upload daily. Please like and subscribe. And then it also helps against penetration because half of the elemental damage is chaos, so it doesn't penetrate half of the damage. That's really nice too. Extra bonus of Zebachwa. But now with Mageblood, like I said, I can go the Flask instead of the armor because I was immune to physical, which I'd rather be immune to elemental rather than physical. And then I work on my physical some more. And then chaos, I didn't need 90, and I can be immune to poison with all of these chance to avoid poisons. But basically where I'm going with this is by taking out the Glorious Vanity, the Megalomaniac, and the multiple small clusters. So I don't have the 89 chaos now. I don't have the Timeless Jewel. I gained a ton of skill points in jewel sockets. Jewel sockets are big. So what I was able to do is Fortress Covenant 45, a Primordial Eminence with 20 attack speed. This also has a Void stun, so I'm 100% stun avoid. I'm also bleed immune. I'm not poison immune anymore. I'm missing it by a little bit, like 20. But we can get that back just with this jewel implicit, maybe this jewel implicit, and we'll be poison immune again. But then point is, I saved a bunch of points, so I was able to gain damage. We're now up to 4.7 per, not counting vulnerability. And so we're basically at 20 million damage in 3.16 with Carrion Golems. Our regen went from 600 to 788. I went from 3,500 life to 4,700, so I gained 1,200 life. I did different pathing now, so I was down here, but now because I have 1 billion points, I was able to get the entire Constitution wheel. I was able to get back my combat stamina. We are Determination Mana Reserve, so I don't even need an Enlighten. I can actually run Val Haste, so I can put in this 31 extra attack speed and move speed, and I can. This gets also the aura effect, so it has some extra bonus rather than just 31. So able to get the extra life, mana, and I still have an extra 84. So even with a Mortal Call with my increased duration, it's still enough mana. I need 81 for that. And I was even able to spec the extra 50 life here, and now the 50 life is worth it with all this % increased life on the tree. And so the calculation basically goes like this: 1,200 extra life when I only had 3,500 life is a very, very large amount. And then I still get 40% less elemental damage taken, which is actually more than the max I could get out of the Zebachwa. Like, the best case scenario from Zebachwa is 30% less elemental damage taken, so then this is 40% less elemental damage taken. So it's actually better, and we open up all of this, so this is really strong. The only things we lose is obviously the armor and the evasion that we were getting from the Flask, which maybe then we work in armor and evasion into our build, because determination is so free, as I already have done, and maybe grace is really free. I'm not sure yet. Maybe it's worth putting in a grace in this build, because it's so effective, so efficient. I was able to get blind back in the build, so then blind with evasion rating with the dread banner, giving the nearby enemies have less accuracy. You could even run enfeeble to make them have less accuracy too, but this is absolutely ridiculous. This was basically a gigantic improvement to the build. 3,500 life, and then we had 1,200. So the 1,200 of the 3,500 is like 34.28%. So actually, I'm tankier with this setup, because I'm tankier to elemental with this setup because I have more life. The more % life than I did with the old setup. I have more damage. I still have the elemental mitigation. So I'm actually just ultra tanky. The only thing is my chaos is squishier. I have phys to chaos, which is kind of annoying because this is less good, and I would rather phys to cold then instead. So maybe I should remake the chestplate and sell this one since it's so insane. But the chestplate's so good. The other thing is my physical is now my weakest or my chaos. And so things that would really help is more armor, because this gets deleted by like a 15,000 physical hit, 10,000 physical hit, 20,000 destroys it. You need like 40, 50, 60 to start to be immune with your armor, where 30 is just not enough. And then the other thing, or I could do more physical conversion things. So like I saw the Sapphire Flask, the one I was using before, Taste of Hate really helps my survivability. For physical, a Basalt gives me like 10,000 extra armor. A Granite gives me like 13,000 extra armor with the 1,500 flat. So flat armor is more effective than more armor in this case. I need more flat armor, so maybe just some more flat base armor gear would really help. I still also think, like I said, evasion. If I'll show you guys this, it's really fun. I could do this swap really fast. I have the dex to run level 20 grace, and it gives me 9,250 evasion, and I could even swap this mod from the 15% of damage taken from hits, leeches life during Flask, to increased evasion rating. This leech thing sounds really fun though, because like, so let's say, well, it's 30% of damage taken, right? Because it gets increased by 100%. So let's say I get hit for 1,000. 30% of that is 300. And now that'll just leech. So I heal I'll leech 300. And the leech goes away when I reach full. So that's just extra recovery, and that's only on 1,000 hit. So if it's a 4,000 hit, it could be 1,200, which will leech over time. That's really strong. That seems really, 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 really strong. The only problem I see with this is that I don't have overleech, and I have no leech scaling. This is better in a build that actually has leech and leech stuff. So my Baron zombie build that I'm gonna be playing soon, therefore, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? So I should probably change this to evasion. Then if I did grace, I could get basically 100% increased evasion on the grace evasion rating with just a mod, 120% basically. So I'd go up to like 20,000 evasion with just grace and the Flask mod, and that seems absolutely bonkers. Compared to potentially Pride, or even fitting in a whole extra aura, because I'm not even running Enlighten on this, and I could also run, we have a phasing Flask. I could run a permanent Quartz Flask, in theory, with move speed, drop this, run a Quartz Flask instead, and have phasing without the phase run. There's a lot of stuff of options you could do here. But the main thing is about I dropped Zebachwa, and what it was doing was maximum 10 to 30% elemental mitigation, and this Flask setup is more powerful than what I was doing with the Zebachwa, and so I've swapped. Now should you? No. And should you swap to life? Possibly. With what I've learned, that maybe where your build is at, because of how the prices of things worked out and what build upgrades everyone prioritized, you might have problems with physical damage, which would mean that the Zebachwa, Chaos Res, and Elemental Mitigation doesn't actually help you that much, and therefore more life would help you more, or more armor, or more physical damage reduction, or more physical conversion, where you have physical taken as an element or chaos. That would really help compared to upgrading more chaos and more elemental. That wouldn't really help because it's physical, if physical is the issue. So then my point would be, then maybe, yeah, you could drop it if physical is your issue, because then just more life and more armor and more normal stuff would have helped you for armor more than for physical more than the Zebachwa. So now I'll go into that. Give me a sec. Alright, now I want to get into the POB just to compare the two things for you guys. For basically, I'm going to try to make this as a thing for you. Let's say you don't have a Mageblood, you don't have all the shit enabled, you don't have crazy flaws, just you're using Zebachwa, you're playing the game, you want to know, hey Ethan, you swapped Zebachwa out, is it worth it? Should we do it too? So I have two POBs, with Zebachwa, without Zebachwa. What you can do without it and what you can do with it, and what it is looking like. So, and why you would change if you wanted to change. You could decide for yourself. I'll try to help you. So Zebachwa, main reason, like I said, elemental to chaos, and so we're tankier to elemental and we're tankier to chaos because we raised the chaos to a big number. So then when we look into the calculations, this is without Molten Shell. I don't want to calculate this right now. And this is without the Flask because this Mageblood is OP. This one is just elemental res because my build doesn't have elemental res, and it's some armor because don't worry about it, it's fine. 23,000. Just imagine the Molten Shell's not on. It's fine. It doesn't matter. And imagining 23,000 armor in the build and we still have this bad physical is really helpful. So basically, this is also with the Pantheons. Okay, so physical is really bad. With Zebachwa, crazy tanky to Ellie and Chaos. This is without anything on, and then our physical is terrible with the stuff. That's our Flask and our Molten Shell. we get really tanky, but I don't care about that. That's not what we're trying to see here. I'm trying to see it for you guys, what's going on with Zebachwa. So you can see here, it takes 50% as lightning and then 50% as chaos, and it just took the maximum hit as the one that is lower. And so this doesn't actually work. And so effective hit pool is kind of better to look at here than the maximum hit taken, because it kind of breaks it. If you don't run it, it's even weirder. The number is half, and if you looked at that, would you have expected it? I don't know. That's just what yep, looks pretty interesting to me. So then it's 45 maybe on this, and 22, but you have 14,000 one shot, and this is against a 10,000 physical hit. So physical is really bad. So then the idea is sacrificing all of the chaos res at max chaos res and the and this timeless jewel and the extra jewel socket, right? And going extra life so that you have, or armor and or extra physical damage reduction to have extra protection against physical, because the physical is so bad and the LE was Quick thank you to my Patreon and YouTube members: Stephen C, Hannes, Brandon, George, Logan, Rico549, The Chrome Dog, Garbar, Neon, Tridnix, Nicholas, White Wolf, Pascal, and thank you to anyone new. Say too good. It's not well balanced. So then I made this. This is basically the same idea as the big build without Molten Shell, without the Flask again, just the one Flask. So it has, as you can see, more damage by 360,000 per. So this is like not a small amount. That's like 1.4 million in just the Carrion Golems. More armor by 1,300. 1,000. And then another thing is it has, as you can see, 800 more life. So you could have went a little bit more life probably instead of the damage, or a little bit more life instead of the armor. But I like this. It seemed well balanced. And then when you look into the numbers, 20,000, 22,000, 19,000. And like I said, this is without the Flask. So this doesn't have the bonus of the elemental res Mageblood thing, which maybe you could even do in a smaller build if you made your build well balanced, and then you could use those Flasks in a non-Mageblood build. I don't know. It's pretty interesting. But then just to show you this, those three with Molten Shell. Yep. So really tanky to physical now, less to LE and less to chaos, because we lost the Zebachwa. But then this would make it so that at least you don't have the physical issue, which is then where I pointed out that you probably wouldn't need all of this physical, all that armor and physical damage from the Flask. And you'd rather make it well balanced, where the Zebachwa was balanced around the Flask and Molten Shell and high armor, where you could make it, yeah, you could change it around, and then this actually might feel pretty good with the Topaz Sapphire thing that I have in the Mageblood build, but you could run in a normal setup. And the other reason why I think this could work in a normal setup is these Flasks have a really long duration on their own, and this is with reduced duration. They're 7. This seems really powerful. You won't have the 100% increased effect, obviously, because you won't have the increased effect from the Enkindling Orb and the increased effect prefix probably. You could even do increased duration to make it last even longer. You could make it like 20-second Flask, and they only consume 20 charges. They'd have half the power, but 20% less elemental damage taken is actually like having... So of the scaling of Zebachwa, to explain it one more time, 75 going to 80 is like getting and having Zebachwa, having half of the elemental taken against your chaos, is like getting 10% less elemental damage taken every 5 chaos. So then when you go from 80 to 85, it's 10% less, and then it's 85 to 90, 10% less. So it's 10 to 30 basically with the 5 to 15 chaos going to your 90 chaos. And so it's comparing this to the Flask, 20% straight up is actually equivalent to 85 chaos, which is like having the Zebachwa and 2 smalls, which is very costly. So I think people could actually run these. If they already have the determination, they're pretty good against physical then, and then the extra life actually helps them, and then this helps their elemental. Things I've been learning in min-maxing of builds, this seems very intuitive after playing with it more, and I like it a lot, and I think this can help a lot of people following the builds. So do I recommend this swap of more damage, more life, maybe not Zebachwa, and doing this? I think if you do those flasks, if you can do those flasks instead of doing 60,000 armor, it could feel really good. And then you don't have to have a Zebachwa and those smalls, and you get more damage, and you get more life, and then you're better against physical, and then you have a new issue, which you know the elemental flask could help. Or I combined, I had Zebachwa still. I tried both. Zebachwa's not bad for elemental. It's really not bad for elemental and chaos, but if your physical is really, really bad, it can help a lot, yeah. It can really help. So out of this, you could probably cut, the granite, and your physical still would be insane. You could run Ellie Flask in here for sure. Actually insane. You'd run one of them with an increased armor, and you'd be good to physical for sure, yeah. It's so good. TLDR, dropping Zebachwa and the Chaos Res allows you to get more life and more armor, which can help you protect against physical, raising your physical damage, effective health, but then you will lose your elemental mitigation, your chaos mitigation. So just to be warned, it's not a free difference, it's not a free change, but it can be an improvement to the build actually, and then if you are able to fit in those elemental flasks, then it's just a clear upgrade with what I've learned. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, thanks for hanging out, and I hope this helped you to upgrade your build at home, and let me know if this has improved your build or not. Bye! See you guys in the next episode. Bye!